Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. It's Russell with Ink and Paper Blog. How are you doing today? I'm going to lower this just a little bit. There we go. I am coming to you today on September 5th because today is my 6th-month anniversary on YouTube, BookTube, and I thought what a great way to kind of celebrate this for myself is to do the Getting to Know You tag and get you guys some information about me outside of just the normal book recommendations and everything. And I had some people ask me some questions about my reading do's and don'ts, so I'm going to tack some of that onto the end of this video as well. So because I don't want to talk too long, I'm going to get right into the questions of the Getting to Know You tag, and they're down here, so I apologize that I have to read from my computer screen. The first question is, what do you want to tell us about yourself? I think the thing that you should know about me is that's different than everything else that you know is I'm the oldest of 8 children, and I am very much the one who was sort of in charge of getting things done. So I am very much that guy who is anal retentive and organized and really likes things to have a specific order. And I'm also that guy who is constantly reorganizing, looking for better ways to organize the stuff that's in my life. And I don't deal well with disorganization and mess, which is fascinating because those in my life are not as organized as I am, so sometimes it's a little bit stressful, as you can probably imagine. But that's probably the thing is I come from a very big family, so there's a lot of brothers and sisters, a lot of nieces and nephews, and a lot of that kind of stuff. And so that's something you probably didn't know about me. The second question is, who is your favorite author? Now, that question, I think, to any reader is pretty tough to answer. So I kind of took this question as, whose body of work would I want to read if I could only read one author? So that's kind of how I did it. And the answer for me would probably be Toni Morrison. I think every book that she writes is different and powerful and unique in a special way. From Sula to The Bluest Eye, which I talked about, to Beloved, to Song of Solomon, which is my favorite, to her new stuff, to Home and all those. I really love her. I've only not read 2 of her books, Tar Baby, which I just for some reason have never read, and Paradise, which I've tried to read a number of times, but it's just too smart for me. But I really love her. I would say that there's a couple of people that are a close second. I'm a huge John Williams fan. I told you Stoner is probably my favorite book of all time. I like his whole body of work. And then I also am a huge David Mitchell fan and Barbara Pym fan. So if I had to throw those those are my 4 big top favorites. What is your favorite movie? Question 3 is complicated in that I don't really have a favorite movie. I'll talk about this a little bit more in reading, but I'm not one of those people that rewatches movies or reads books. So I don't really have a movie that I go to all the time. I don't have a favorite movie. I will say when I'm sick with the flu, well, years ago, I haven't done this in a while, if I'm sick and in bed and I want to turn the TV on, I don't mind watching Miss Congeniality with Sandra Bullock. For some reason, every time that I'm sick and I watch it, it makes me laugh and it makes me feel better. So that's my go-to sick movie, but I don't really have a favorite movie because I don't rewatch film that often. Question number 4 is what my favorite TV show is, and here I go with Brita and I from the second shelf. We are on board here. The West Wing is absolutely the best TV show I've ever watched in my entire life. I love it. That being said, I don't rewatch TV either. We do watch a lot of reruns in the house, but I tend to read while they're on. But the West Wing, I watched it in its entirety after it was already off the air. And I loved it. I loved every character, every actor. I thought it was pitch perfect. So that would be my favorite TV show that I would tell you if you asked me that question. What is your music taste? This varies very much. So when I was younger, again, I'm the oldest of a lot of children. I got my own bedroom, and when I was 8 or 9, I was the first one to get your own radio. So my brothers and sisters would be in my bedroom trying to play on the radio. So I made the concerted decision that I would listen to country music because they didn't want to listen to it, so they wouldn't be in my room. So I said, on my radio, only country music. And in that point, I fell in love with Reba McEntire, who hands down is probably the musician that I have followed my whole entire life. What's going on, Baxter? Sorry, Baxter's in here and got up. So Reba McEntire is very, very important to me and will always be important to me. I've bought every album that she has ever produced. I'm a huge musical theater fan. I like Hamilton, Dear Evan Hansen, Rent, Sideshow, all that kind of stuff. Big there. And then we listen to a lot of female rappers in our household and a lot of drag queen music in our household. So those are kind of the mixes of stuff that you will get. I really like people who can sing, and I like songs that have a meaning or a message. Those are very important aspects of music to me. That being said, I can't read with music on, so I tend not to listen to it unless I'm working and typing. So there you go. There's my favorite music. And then, what is my favorite sport? This kind of breakdown, actually, this is hard for me. I am a huge tennis fan. I have been a fan of tennis since I was younger. Steffi Graf will always be my favorite tennis player through all time. I adored her when I was younger. Huge Roger Federer fan, huge Serena Williams fan. I watch every tournament nonstop. I'm a huge college football fan. My ex-husband was from the South, and before that I watched a lot of college football, and with him I watched a lot of college football. I've been to 2 national championships, so college football is something I watch a lot. And I watch a lot of college basketball, men and women's. Huge fan of college basketball, March Madness, both men and women's. Those, yeah. So favorite sports, that's all of that. I like all of those and some. I love hockey. I will watch figure skating. I will watch sports. So favorite's hard to pick. And then the last question in this is, share your super secret ultimate guilty pleasure. There should be so many answers to this, but I will go with the one that I find the most amusing, and that is guacamole. I could eat guacamole on everything. I love it. We can't buy it or make it in my house because I will just sit in the kitchen reading and eating guacamole out of a bowl with tortilla chips until all of it is gone. I will get up and put it on eggs. If I'm making eggs in the morning, I will put it on sandwiches. I am from California. Avocado is a way of life, and guacamole is my way of life. So that is probably my super ultimate guilty pleasure. I adore guacamole and avocados. It's my favorite. So those are the questions of the getting to know you tag. So I thought I'd toss in some reading things on the end here so you guys could get a little bit to know a little bit more about me as a reader. A couple things. So I have a ritual whenever I read a book, and this is mainly why I don't read digitally. I have a bookmark. I read, and ever since I was little, the bookmark can only go in the back of the book until I get to exactly 50% of the book. And then once I hit the 50% of the bookmark starts going in the front as I continue to read. It's the way that I have always told myself that you are over halfway done. And I do it. I've done it since I was probably 4 or 5, and I have done it my entire life. And it is very much a pattern for me. As I said, I do not reread. I'm not a big rereader. I have reread books in college. I think that's probably what killed it for me. I was an English major in college, so I had to read a lot of stuff often and over again, and that sort of killed rereading for me. I think there are too many books in the world to read stuff you've already read. And so I never do that often, and I'm not one to go and say, oh, I'm going to read this series that I love. I like it to stick in my head the way it was. I don't want it to be ruined when I reread it, so that's very much important to me. That was a big sorry. There it goes again. I started as a reader reading science fiction and fantasy when I was in junior high, a lot of escapism. And then I moved on to classics. I will say the book that kind of turned it was 9th grade English, Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens was the first book that like blew my mind as a work of literature and kind of turned me into a person that was going to be an English major. I have all of my books are alphabetized and then separated by read and not read, which I think is pretty common for all of us. I am one of those people that when you go, some of my pet peeves in bookstores, this could be a whole video, but I'll do 2 of them. I don't understand why people put stickers on books that don't come off easily and leave a mark or tear. It drives me crazy. And I don't know if this happens the same in Britain, but in America, when a book goes like on the discount shelf and they mark the bottom of it with like a mark or a dot, I don't understand that. I don't know why you would do that to a book. I can't handle it. I don't want my books to have ink marks on them, and I will literally stare at the book and decide not to buy it if it has it on there. I can't handle it. So that's that. I will say that I am going to be trying to make some reading goals in 2018, which will be very different for me. I don't make reading goals because I'm not good at saying I will read something. That is why it is so hard for me to ever agree to do a reading thing with anyone, because if I'm not feeling a book, I will not force myself to read it because I don't want to dislike the book because it's not the right book at the right time. So I tend not to make reading challenges other than how many books I'm going to read. And when people give me books, I don't want to read a book when it's the wrong time, so I don't dislike it. So I'll pick it up, and if it's not right for me at that point, I won't read it. And it may take me a year, it may take me longer. And this is how I pick my next book. This is about to be some information, guys. After I finish a book, I go to my TBR shelves, and I have probably 7 of them, and I will pick one book from each shelf that kind of just tickles me at that time. I will take them to the bathtub. I will fill up the bathtub, get a cup of tea, and I will read the first chapter of every book. So all 7. And then at the end of it, whichever book I'm like, gosh, I wonder what's going to happen in chapter 2, I'll pick up, and that's the one I'll read. So that's how I pick my next book. I have had experiences where I've read all 7 and nothing has entertained me, so I will then do that in bed with the same probably reheated cup of tea. So that is kind of how I pick my books. So that's a little bit about me as a reader. I am really that way, and I hope you guys found that to be at least interesting. And thank you for joining me on this 6-month adventure. It has been fantastic. Here's to the next 6 months. And I hope you guys like what you're getting, and we will talk soon, and I'll be back in a couple days with another video. So again, thank you so much for watching. If you are a return subscriber, I appreciate it. Comment below. Let's talk about what you guys, your reading things are. What are your pet peeves? What do you do? What are your habits, your traits? I'd really love to talk about that below. If you're new to my channel, thank you so much. I so appreciate it. And have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye. Happy reading.